Hello, I'm Neil, and this is my wife, Michelle. I guess my journey with Lamb began at the intensive 3 years ago, and we wasn't in the best of shape at that time, and we had, hold it up more? Okay, that's too loud. So do I need to say Neil and Michelle again? Lamb intensive 3 years ago, we had major breakthrough then, and we had to. Through the summer, we learned that we was going to have to take Lamb 1 and 2 to put the tools into us to be able to use them, and so that was a building session, and but I guess after that we knew that there was more available, and we wanted that, desired that, and so when the deeper intimacy came available, we wanted it. We didn't have any idea how you was going to make it deeper and more intense, but you accomplished that. And I guess it kind of just started how, we had the tools from Lamb. You didn't change the tools. But I began to see how everything was intermingled. Your problem wasn't just a skidoo or just a generational or just a this. Everything was tied in and deeply rooted. And I think that's where a lot of our problems was. We'd worked on the surface and done a lot of work there, but we hadn't got to the roots. And, I think that's what the deeper is. You're going after the roots. And just a lot of little things, and, I can say that the offense, I have a tendency to have an introvert spirit, so I stuff things in. And, the words that you talked about having to clean it out and keep it clean, get rid of them immediately, because when they build up, that's when we have problems, or when I have problems. And and it just everything through that, and like the spirit connection today, it took me into an area, a memory way back around 10, and it was just maybe I thought a minor thing, a bully picking on me in a school ground, but it was the beginning and the roots of problems that I have in hundreds of different areas. So, we're going deeper and working on the roots. And, to the ones that's in here, I think you're here for the same thing. And so that's testimonies just to you out there watching, If you know that there's still something else, you need to do it.
I'll just touch real briefly. Since our first Lamb Intensive, and I shared this with the church after the first Lamb Intensive, I woke up, it was a couple days prior to our Lamb Intensive here, and I woke up to the sound of glass breakage and seeing it just shatter in a million pieces. And through that Lamb Intensive, things shattered for us. By that Saturday, things broke off. We were awake till 2 a.m, just
every
breaking
night.
Things off. And that Sunday morning, I woke up to the vision of 2 white doves or birds just taking off in flight together. And since then, I've had other visions, and we try to pick them apart. But anyway, the one I had last night, after we were intimate, was it was like a nice, healthy tree, tall and towering over us, but there was this black hearse under the bottom of the tree. And so I was talking to Barry and Lori this morning, and wow, that led me into a spirit connection that I didn't know I was going into, and broke off more roots. And so broke off a lot of fear that I had to get rid of. And so I'm just thankful for the sweet, tender moments that the Lord speaks in those ways. So.